Nice thing about living in coastal Florida is I can go to the beach whenever I want, which is great because I love shelling and picking up these oyster shells. A lot of people ignore them and don't pick them up, but I do because I can make some really cool things with these. So let's get these cleaned up and see what we can make. All right, first thing I'm going to do is clean. I mean, these are cleaned. I pretty much have cleaned these um, as I brought them home from the beach. These are all from my beach. And I'm just doing a final clean. Some of these are really pretty. This one's going to be nice. And these are pretty clean. I just rinse them off. Even though I have washed these pretty well when I brought them home from the beach, I'm just going to give them a final cleaning with alcohol and a paper towel just to get off any grease or residue. And this is my little secret. This is Play-Doh from the dollar store. Using this Play-Doh is a game changer for elevating low areas that prevent me from getting a fairly flat surface. And then the shells that are kind of wobbly, I can support low areas, or I can prevent a few of them from rocking back and forth, and it just gives me a more level surface. And this stuff is just awesome. It's dirt cheap. I think there's maybe 6 or 7 or 8 little tubs in a container, and they're $1.25 at the Dollar Tree. I mean, you just cannot beat that. And I don't worry about saving it. It's going to dry up and kind of get crumbly, but then I just toss it in the trash. And I don't even try to reuse it because it's just not worth it. It's so cheap, and it's very, very versatile. And some of these shells need a little bit more help than others, but like I said, this stuff's... And now I'm mixing up my KS resin liquidy split. This is my go-to. Not really certain how much to mix. I'm mixing up 20 milliliters. So the reason I don't know how much to mix is because this is my first time making the Christmas ornaments this year. So I kind of lose track of, how much I've used in the past. I can always mix up more if I need to, but 20 in the cup. So I am splitting off some of the clear resin into a cup to use later, because we will need some clear and we will need some white. And then I'm just mixing in my KS resin, liquid resin dye, 1 drop I think it is, into the cup, and I'm just mixing it up really well. Use my finger. See how pretty that color is? That's exactly what I want. See, you don't need much. Really, it's painting. We are painting. This really is a lot like finger painting. It's kind of fun, actually. What will end up happening, even though I'm putting it on really thin, and the resin itself is a fast set and is kind of thick, but what will end up happening is I'm painting it on the edges of the shell, but from gravity, it'll end up pooling and spreading to the bottom. Now it will still stay on the sides somewhat, but as it settles, it'll pool down into the bottom of the shell, and that just adds a little bit of layering and texture, and it ends up looking like the ocean. It's just really cool. I just love it. And I'm just trying to use up all this blue resin in the cup, spreading it evenly between the shells. I thought I was going to have I thought I was not going to have enough, but I ended up with just enough blue for all of these shells. And I wish I had saved off a little bit more of the clear, because I don't think I put enough clear in that little green cup. But oh well, we'll make it work. Now in my cup, I have the clear. I want to put the clear along the bottom, just a little bit along the bottom, because that introduces where we're going to put the white, and it gives us a good base for the white, and hopefully we can get some good cells and lacing. I added 1 drop of liquid resin dye in white to the cup and mixed it up really well. And then I put a thin line of this white along the edge where my clear resin is. And you always want to add the white on top of the clear layer, not the blue layer. And what this does is when you blow it out with a heat gun or a hair dryer, it will allow the white resin to not mix with the blue. Otherwise, you're just going to kind of get, you know, a light blue instead of cells and lacing. And so the white kind of skates on top of that clear layer, and it gives you really good separation and really good lacing. It was not easy for me to perfect, and I'm still not perfect, and it's even harder on a curved oyster shell, but the effort is really worth it, and you'll see in just a minute when I put the heat gun to it. And I did run out, but I'm going to come back, mix up some more, and I've got to mix up some more anyway to add the beach sand to the bottom of these shells, so I'm not really upset about running out. You can see my hand is a mess, but I should have worn gloves. And so now the heat gun is where the magic happens. And I'm just taking my heat gun and popping the bubbles really quick, because we don't want bubbles in these guys. We want a nice clear ocean. And now I'm going to start pushing that white across the blue, and you can see it's skating on top of that clear layer. And it's not easy on a flat surface, and it's even harder on a curved shell, but these really, I am just in love with that. Look at the lacing on that first shell. That's a long wave there, but this one's going to be turning out pretty too. But I'm really, really happy with that. So you don't want to use a lot of heat. I think I have a medium heat setting on my heat gun right now, and a high air setting. So low heat and high air, and you just want to gently push that white. See the ripples? You just want to push that white onto the shell, and you just want to skate over that white or the clear layer. I've got a little drip on that one, but it looks kind of cool. Almost looks like a little tidal pool, but just gonna kind of sop that up and spread it around on the shell, and then get a little piece of the Play-Doh and support that bottom there. It just needs a little extra help. And see if I can get him elevated a little bit. I really do like that one. It looks like one of those little tide pools that you get at the beach. So the next step is adding the little beach sand. This is kind of chunky sand that I just get down from the beach. It's not a whole lot of the fine sand in this. It's more like the riprap that you get at the high tide line. But I just go out there with a bucket and scoop up a bunch and bring it home, and it lasts me for a year. And I did end up mixing some more resin in my cup, and I go ahead and put the chunky sand down, and then I put the resin on top. And I probably could have used UV resin, but I figured I'd just go ahead and just use the regular liquidy split, because the blue resin that I had put down is regular resin, and I just wasn't sure how the UV resin, with the other resin still being wet, how the UV resin would react to that. So I just went ahead and used regular resin. And then I'm taking some of my little sea creature charms and putting them just strategically in different areas. That just adds a little something extra, and then there's just the leftover resin on top. I do sometimes like to finish off the edges with either a silver or a gold paint pen. And to be honest, this silver is a really pretty color, but I bought a fine tip instead of a broad tip. Not the greatest for these shells. I need to find a broad tip like my old broad tip. Now my gold is a broad tip and it works great. And some of the sand is a little bit loose. I'm just shaking it off. Adds a little bit of, I don't know, a little something extra to the edge of the shell. It just makes it look a little bit more finished and a little bit more formal. So I think it's really pretty. This little guy had a perfect shelf on the left-hand side that I decided to add a little mermaid charm, and I'm just taking some UV resin and just putting it on there as a final touch. Now using the drill bit attachment with my Dremel tool, I'm very carefully on a pretty high speed setting, just drilling holes in the tops of the shells so that I can attach a hanging string. And you gotta be careful. I mean, the shells are hard, but they can be brittle in some spots, and that one I broke it. But you know, it doesn't take long. You just apply even pressure. I had all the holes drilled in no time. Then I'm flipping them over and sanding off any resin that might have leaked through. Sometimes the shells do have holes in them and the resin will leak through. So I'm just taking my Dremel sandpaper and just filing those away. Sometimes it does leave some staining, but that just kind of adds to the natural look of it. Then the final touch is just adding a light coat of paste wax, which really brings out the natural color of the shell. You wouldn't think that would work, but it sure does. You could even use a clear spray or something that you would brush on out of a can, but I just prefer to use the wax. It gives it a nice matte finish. I just didn't want anything really shiny. Now I'm adding raffia ribbon for a hanger, and I'm having to widen the holes on some of these because the Dremel bit that I was using just was kind of small. I didn't want to use a bigger Dremel bit because that will definitely crack the shell. I always like to add a hanger of some kind when I display these at shows. It just makes them easier to display, and then somebody can immediately hang it on their tree if they want to, or give it as a gift. Some of the shells I could not drill a hole through because the shell was just really thick, so I'm just taking my UV resin and my curing light and attaching a hanger. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope that you enjoyed this short tutorial and that you maybe found some inspiration for doing your own shell craft. And it doesn't have to just be at Christmas time. It could be something that you make with your kids and give as gifts. You could use these as gift tags all year round. Thanks again, and hope you like and subscribe. Bye-bye.